Well, greetings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today on this version of the Kind of Campea Show, because he is with us just remotely. I'm going to be your host, though, today, Chris Carr, and it's super fun to be here with you while we talk about movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good things. And we can't do it without you, so thank you so much for being here live or for listening to this in podcast form. We love when you do that, too. I am joined in the room by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy Friday.
By Jonathan Boyko.
Hello, hello.
And remotely, John Campea.
Hey guys, how you doing?
John, where are you?
I am currently in Las Vegas at the moment, doing a little project out here. So I had to come out a day earlier than I was going to originally. But yeah, so I'm in a hidden location in Vegas.
Yes, undisclosed location.
I was going to say, it's a bunker in
Undisclosed.
Vegas. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to Vegas on Sunday. I'm very
nice.
excited.
Really?
nice.
What are you
Yeah.
doing here?
Oh, we're going as Logan's belated birthday present. So,
Oh, very nice.
yeah, it'll be a fun time meeting some
Good.
friends from Georgia up there who've never been. And they've got kids, so they're going to go nuts.
Yep.
It's going to be great. I'm very
Very
excited
nice.
about it. Yeah. Well, and we are so excited to have you all here with us while we talk about things. Let's just do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into our topics, though. We can be heard in podcast form, like I mentioned, and you can get that on your podcaster of choice. Go ahead, give us some reviews. We'd love for you to type out an actual review for us with your little fingers. That'd be amazing. Look at all those stars. Let's get those higher up there. And be sure you like and share. You can also always send in questions, even when the show is not on. Head on over to this link here, www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And if you got an appropriate question, that's the key, we will read it on air and discuss it. All right, with all of that down, let's get into our main topics because we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. And this first one is a doozy. So we've got, actually we have them off the top first, though.
Yeah, we got
a little off the top.
Something that just dropped.
Yeah, literally just dropped. We've got our first look for How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version. So we've
Wow.
got this great first image of Hiccup in the Colosseum, ready to maybe fight a dragon, maybe cower. Who's to say?
He still has his legs, so this is early
He
on.
does still have his legs, so
Yeah.
this is a first moment in there, not just a first look. And this is Mason Tanks, I believe is how you say his last name, who most of you know from the film The Black Phone. I don't know from that film because I'm an absolute chicken and would not see it. It made Aaron Cummings cry, and I never went and saw it. What do you guys think of this image, though? Does this raise your expectations for the film? Does it do anything for you?
I mean,
I mean, I don't know. I'd say that it raises expectations or anything. It's more like that tangibilization thing,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Like this thing's actually real. This thing's actually happening. I mean, you really can't get a lot from it. I mean, the design is great. I like the shield, the outfit, the boots, the horn. I mean, it's all pretty accurate to it, but it's not giving us a lot to see. And that's understandable. It's still a little ways away. I'm still fascinated by the fact that they're doing this in live action. Like, this is a really unique choice. And I'm wondering how they're going to pull it off, how the dragon's going to look. Are they going to go as over the top crazy looking like they were in the animated ones? Obviously, like, how are the main dragons going to look and all that kind of stuff? What was the name of the main dragon? Is it what is
Toothless.
toothless.
Toothless? That's
Yeah.
right. I mean, nailing the look of Toothless is going to be important, but I think this is a great one to do. I was intrigued by when they first announced it, and I still am, and seeing the image is kind of neat. Obviously, though, what we really want is some footage, but that's probably still a little ways away.
I was going to say, the dragons are where I want to see things. It's nice to see the Vikings. It's nice to get a little
Yeah.
glimpse of the world building here. But we've also seen so many things coming out of the Epic Universe installation at Universal Orlando. We've seen the How to Train Your Dragon Spectacular, where it has all these animatronic dragons that they utilize in that performance. So I want to see some really cool dragons until I've got like a better feeling on this film.
I will say just briefly on this image, what I do like, and John touched upon it, is it's live action, but it's still stylized. So I was thinking, well, is this going to be like sort of like how Vikings, this TV show was, just very accurate to like history? But you can tell by all these like helmets, they're a little more exaggerated. Even the stonework and everything and the outfits. Yes, it touches on reality, but you can tell there's a stylized layer to it. So I am liking that. So it looks like it's like a, I don't know, like a soft like transition from the cartoon to reality. I don't think the dragons will be, some of those dragons just kind of look like there's no way they could fly because they're too rounded and have small wings. And
I
it's
love
like,
that about them.
I know, but I think they will try to make it seem like in reality we would have much larger wings, and the faces aren't as hippo-ish on some of them. I think we'll see a little difference in that.
I don't want them to get too like Vikings and too real, because remember, this isn't history. I mean, this isn't like these, although they're called Vikings, this is a mythological tribe that never existed in real life. This is a total fantasy. So I do want them to, I hope they don't feel constrained by having to always look real.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the bumblebee shouldn't physically be able to fly either, but it does.
And they're cute
So
as heck.
let's throw that in there with the dragons too. Why not?
Well, guys, what we want to know, though, is how do you feel about this image? Are you excited about the live action? Are you still kind of scratching your head about it? Let us know your thoughts and how you feel about this particular first look. All right. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this show.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. Disney has released their entire release slate for 2025, and it is so much stuff, you guys. It is so much. We're going to kind of just boogie through this list, and that way we can get to everybody's thoughts on them. So let's just start here at the top. This is one that I know Ray and I are very excited about. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man coming in January. We then have, of course, Captain America Brave New World, which just had that wonderful new trailer pop out. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Win or Lose is hitting us in February. That is a Pixar Disney Plus venture. Daredevil Born Again, of course, the much anticipated series, kind of a reboot of that show. Snow White with Rachel Zegler. The Amateur, which is a film we all just watched a trailer for with Rami Malek, looks very interesting, based on a novel of the same name. Andor Season 2 is hitting us in April. Then, of course, we've got Thunderbolts, asterisk, in May. Lilo and Stitch, the live-action Lilo and Stitch, is happening in May as well. Then we have Elio, that is our Pixar theatrical release that's happening. The Ironheart series is going to be happening in June. Fantastic Four First Steps, I can't believe it is July.
So close.
That music is so good, and I can't believe it's already happening in July. We're getting Fantastic Four before Blade. What is happening?
Yeah.
We then, of course, have Eyes of Wakanda, another animated series going to Disney Plus. Freakier Friday with Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis, and, oh my gosh, our little cutie from The Acolyte, Manny Jacinto. We've got Marvel Zombies happening on October, just in time for spooky season. Tron Ares, also in October with a theatrical release. Predator Badlands is happening November 7th. That's Logan's actual birthday, so now we've got a birthday movie to go see. Zootopia 2 happening at the end of November, just in time for around Thanksgiving. Wonder Man, the Disney Marvel Plus series, that is happening as well. And then last, but certainly not least, Avatar Fire and Ash, December 19th.
Wow. That's 2 releases every month outside of January and July.
Yeah. That's a lot. This is a behemoth of a list. And I know there's certain things that I'm particularly excited for on here. I'm really pumped about Daredevil coming back to the screen. I have loved those new trailers for Captain America as well. It seems like we're getting back into that great spy thriller kind of thing. I'm really pumped about Spider-Man. I'm really, really excited about it. And man, Zootopia too. I love Zootopia. I think those are my kind of most anticipated things here. John, when you hear this huge list, what are the things that stand out for you on it? What are you excited about, and what's kind of a little bit more non-plus for you?
Well, I mean, the first thing we should probably say is that, okay, yes, when you look at that list, on first look, you think, what a huge, monstrous list. Like, what happened to Bob Iger saying quality over quantity and all that kind of stuff? But we do have to remember, this is 4 studios releases. Right? This is Marvel films, Pixar films, Lucasfilm, and 20th Century. So, I mean, when you look at that, like, you're immediately overwhelmed, but we do have to keep in mind this is like 4 different studios putting out their stuff. I can't get excited for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Come on.
I just can't. It looks stupid to me. And I know this is such a role reversal, but in a world where we have the animated Spider-Verse stuff, no way this comes anywhere close to that.
You know what's funny?
fair.
You mentioned that, though. The stylization of it, I'm not saying it's anything like Beyond the Spider-Verse or anything like that, but I do kind of like that it's kind of that Steve Ditko, like, it's like a retro feel to it.
It's
It could
very
be
comic
totally
booky.
silly. I might jump into it a couple episodes and be like, all right, I'm out. but after I realize how like retro it looks, I'm
Mhm.
that kind of edges me toward
Is
it.
it kind of like
Oh, yeah, I mean, the
Archer?
visual style could very well work
Yeah,
and
but
work
this,
really well. So hopefully that does.
yeah,
The Amateur is one that I honestly forgot about. They previewed The Amateur with Rami Malek for us back at CinemaCon in April, right here in Vegas, and it looked great. It looked really, really good. So I'm excited about seeing that. Obviously, Daredevil is the big one, And by the way, Lilo and Stitch, guys, it very quietly is suddenly only 6 months away. And I don't know about
Dang.
you, but for me, like when I would think Lilo and Stitch, it was still an idea in the ether that was still felt like it was a year and a half away. It's actually coming in 6 months. And Fantastic Four First Steps is so close. I still have to admit, I'm not all that excited for the other animated stuff like Marvel Zombies. I mean, I feel like this is just them doubling down on that one episode of What If that was one of the best episodes that they did. But who knows? I mean, that might work out okay. But I mean, the big stars of the list for me are, in no particular order, Andor season 2, which I can't even begin to express how ludicrously excited I am for it. Daredevil Born Again, and probably Thunderbolts. You know what? I'm
Mhm.
actually more excited for Thunderbolts than I am for Fantastic Four.
Wow.
And I'm very excited for Fantastic Four.
yeah.
I'm very excited for it, but I'm getting more and more pumped for Thunderbolts.
The excitement that I had for the first Guardians
Mhm.
and their marketing is what I'm getting for Thunderbolts
Ooh,
now.
I can see
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Interesting enough, Marvel leads the list on this with 9 releases in 25.
Yes.
Unsurprisingly, Lucasfilm only has 1 release, which is Andor.
Yeah. Again, and I don't know when we're going to get anything else in there. Now, with the Marvel thing being 9, I think one of the things to keep in mind too is that, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think like 2026 is much more thin for Marvel's release schedule.
Mhm.
Yes.
So we're going to get a lot of stuff here now. A lot of this stuff was stuff that was already in the beginning stages in the pipe before the regime changeover at Disney and stuff like that. So again, there's a few of the things there that I'm not all that interested in. I'm still dying to see. I want to get more word on Don Cheadle's Armor Wars. Like,
Yeah.
where's that? Because we haven't really heard much about it since they made the change from it being a Disney Plus series to being a theatrical film. But I think Don Cheadle is right up there with one of the more underutilized players that they have in the MCU. So I hope we get some official word on that soon.
I agree, because that was just kind of quietly removed from the list that we had before of just, you'll get that at some point in time, maybe.
I
Yeah,
pretty much have
hopefully
the
soon.
same expectations as you guys across the board, except you guys didn't mention this in a D23, the expo that we covered on the show. Win or lose really stood out to me. Because at
It
first I
looks
thought,
cute.
oh, okay, it's going to be a cute, like, Bad News Bear style thing. But then it gets trippy. Like
It gets weird.
world reality shifting trippiness to it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm really looking forward to what they do with that.
When I want
I know
more of
what
that from
Ray's
it,
number
too.
one thing is.
Ray's
Ray's
Thunderbolts
number
and
one
Elio.
thing.
Elio,
Elio.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do that.
What are you excited about with that, Ray?
It's just because it's in space. It has like the kooky aliens and I just found the first teaser like charming. I mean, I'm not really into this is Pixar, right?
It is.
Yeah, I believe so.
So I expect a great story. And it's just space. I mean, it's a kid in space. What else can you ask for?
Exactly.
You know what it feels like to me? It feels like this trailer came out in 2022. It was probably 2023.
Right.
But it almost feels like a reverse Lilo and Stitch, where like Lilo and Stitch, the alien is now in the human world and the fish out of the water, and Elio feels like a reverse of that, where the kid is in outer space and is the fish out of water. But it looks really cute.
Yeah, I will say I need to see more though. We had that one little little teaser where he's being questioned by the aliens, and they were kind of funny. But
Yeah.
I need to see more of the story, what's going on. But I do love that it's in space because
What's the
whether
release date
or
on that?
not you like Lightyear, those space shots that they had, especially when they're floating across that dark abyss of stars,
Yeah.
I almost got dizzy watching it on that big screen. Like
Yeah.
it was such an awesome. They know how to do their the field of death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Lilo and Stitch, we touched on this yesterday with the cast. This is photoshopped, but
Yeah.
that's still the that's what they would look like either way. That's the actress. I think they nailed it on the casting, at least for Lilo and Stitch. So,
I'm getting more and more excited about this.
yeah.
I am. I'm getting more and more excited about Lilo. I admit, at first I thought it was a strange choice to do as a live action,
Mhm.
but I am warming up to it.
Here's a quick question for you guys.
Sure.
Quick question. Is Lilo and Stitch supposed to be just a remake, live action remake? So can I start
I
with
think
that?
so.
Or
Yes.
Yeah.
start with that movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't. I mean, like, if you want to watch the cartoon, it's great.
I might do it
Yeah.
backwards. I might go backwards.
Yeah.
If I like this live action, then I'll go back to it.
Yeah, it's just a
do that, and
rendition
then you
of
can
it.
watch the old movie, and then you can watch the series that they did as well.
All right.
It's cute.
You don't need to watch the series.
There's some cute moments. Ray would like it. Ray would enjoy it. That's a Ray show. And Lilo and Stitch, honestly, in my opinion, is a near perfect animated film. So they have
Wow.
big shoes to
Okay.
fill on this one.
So maybe I don't skip the animated film.
Maybe you start. Maybe it's like, you know how when they adapt a movie to a book, and if you read the book first, you're like, this movie's trash. But if you didn't read the book first, you're like, this movie's pretty fun.
Oh, okay.
It might be like that. Who's to say?
We'll see.
I don't know. We'll figure it all out. But guys, we want to know how you feel about this lineup. Oh my gosh, there are so many things coming out in 2025 on Disney. What are you excited about? Let us know which ones you are really jazzed for, which ones you're a little nonplussed for, which ones you're disappointed are going on Disney Plus instead of theatrical releases. Hit us with all your hot takes in the comments below. All right? Now, with that down, we finally have a host for the Oscars. It feels like no one wanted this job for a really long time, but I could not be more happy about this. We have
Yes.
Conan O'Brien set to host the
Yes.
97th Oscars. I'm really, really pumped about this. I love him. I think he is such a wonderful, wonderful host. Here's what we've got from Deadline. It's official. The 97th Oscars have a host, and his name is Conan O'Brien. The Emmy-winning television host, writer, producer, and comedian, and now podcaster, will be the sole host for the 97th Academy Awards on March 2nd. Academy CEO Bill Kramer and Academy President Janet Yang announced today. It'll be O'Brien's first time hosting the broadcast, and they go on to say, "We are thrilled and honored to have the incomparable Conan O'Brien host the Oscars this year. He's the perfect person to help lead our global celebration of film with his brilliant humor, his love of movies, and his live TV expertise. His remarkable ability to connect with audiences will bring viewers together to do what the Oscars do best, honor the spectacular films and filmmakers of this year." Said O'Brien, "America demanded it, and now it's happening. Taco Bell's new cheesy chalupa supreme. In other news, I'm hosting the Oscars." And that is the kind of comedy I am expecting in this telecast. I want him to just do weird throw-tos for products that he is not actually affiliated with. I want him to do weird, like, Dadaist humor. I love this dude so much. I could not be more excited about this. I think he's got such great stage presence. He knows how to work a crowd. He can roll with the punches, and when something doesn't land, he can pivot in such a great way. I think this is a great choice. But John, I want to know how you feel about it. What do you think of Conan?
I think this will be a massive missed opportunity if they don't, like, say 1/3 away through the show, have some people come out on stage, like security, and escort Conan off stage and have Jay Leno come out to replace him. If they don't do that, it will be a massively missed opportunity. Okay, so here's, you got to understand my basic kind of philosophy when it comes to the Oscars. I personally would prefer, I've always felt this way, a movie personality hosting the biggest night of the movies. And don't get me wrong, like, of course, Johnny Carson and I think Kimmel did a great job last year. We've had a lot of great hosts of the show and all that kind of stuff, but I really do think it was a missed opportunity. I think they should have moved heaven and earth to have Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds host this year. Like, I know it sounded like maybe they weren't available, didn't want to do. Well, they should have made them an offer they couldn't refuse. This was the perfect year to do that, and I think they should have done that. That being said, if you want to go with a TV personality, comedian, all that kind of stuff, how many better choices are there than Conan O'Brien? Not many. He's got such a sharp wit. He's so, if you ever watch him do interviews, he's so quick with coming up with stuff. He's incredibly irreverent when he wants to be. He just has a way of controlling. Now, the flip side of that coin is, while Conan is great, he's not necessarily for everybody. And
Right.
but I guess not. There really isn't anybody who is.
Right.
But what the other interesting thing about this that we haven't talked about is that it sounded like for a while, because remember that one report came out of there where it looked like this year they were going to do host by committee, where they were going to have 3 or 4 different sets of hosts hosting different segments of it going through. But it sounds like they went right back to the traditional one host. I got to admit, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever had a chance to go to see Conan stuff when he does do stuff at Comic-Con, it's pretty great. Overall, I got to say, I think it's a pretty, if you're not going to do a movie personality, this is a good, solid choice. I like it.
Well, props to Conan for actually taking the job. A lot of people are passing this up. It's such a huge thing you have to do. So, like, you can depend on his Irish balls to actually,
Yep.
to do it. But you know what I love about Conan? Even when he says something that's kind of cringy or awkward, he knows how to play it off. And a lot of the Oscar hosting, sometimes it can get awkward. Sometimes there could be a joke that doesn't work. Conan is like the perfect guy that knows how to play it off and make you, well, for me, make me laugh still.
Yeah.
He's great at that. Of course, there's going to be some hits and misses, but I think they got the perfect guy. Like, this would be my choice. Like, if they had a lineup, he would be my choice.
I think I understand where John comes from with the keep it within that society or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind it when it's a talk show host because they're so intrinsically linked with
Yes.
Hollywood, the promotion. They're
That's a
all
good
friends. And with him having his podcast and then going off of what Ray was saying about maybe moments that are like their misses, he can flip that because they're all friends for the most part in that room. And so they're not just going to leave him hanging like they might leave someone who they don't trust or they don't necessarily like.
Exactly.
I think he's going to get away with a lot more than ordinarily,
Oh, I definitely think that.
Have you guys? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just piggybacking off of all of that, I do think that hosting and performing are 2 different skills. And we know that Hugh Jackman has that. And we've seen Ryan Reynolds do great presentation moments, but not a whole show. Steve Martin and Martin Short are great people who are incredible actors, wonderful comedians, and also great hosts, right? I think Conan O'Brien really ticks a lot of these boxes of he knows how to host something. He knows how to keep things moving. He can play a bit really well. He can deliver really great jokes. And so you won't have that kind of awkwardness that can come with somebody who is deeply intrinsically tied to movies in the same way actors are, like when we had the Franco Hathaway hosting debacle where Anne Hathaway was fighting for her life and James Franco was there. Yeah. So I do like having a comedian in the mix here, which is really nice.
And that was in that period where we're like, Franco can do anything. And then we're like, I'm starting to see
apparently
crap.
not.
Well, and then he took that too far, didn't he?
And then he did everything.
And we went, no, sir, no,
And if
you
guys-
can't.
And if you guys have seen Conan's latest stuff on, I think it's on Max, where Conan travels. Have you seen that series?
Oh, I haven't watched that. No.
It's very good. Like, I miss Conan on actual TV. But
great.
yeah, he's great on that. It's really funny.
His
You guys should check it
podcasts are
out.
great too.
Mm-hmm.
His
Just great
podcast is
conversation.
really good. Chris, you mentioned Steve Martin and Martin Short recently. If you guys haven't seen it, you should go watch the Conan podcast with those 2
Oh,
on
yeah.
it with
Oh,
him.
they were on there?
Okay.
And they just roast him.
Sweet.
It's
They
so
roast Conan?
funny. They were all so
the
good.
highest honor, I think, is Martin Short just talking shit to you to your face. That just
I think he's
So
just
good at it.
programmed to
Ugh.
do that. He's just
He's so good at it.
immediately gets into roast.
oh,
It's crazy.
everyone seems to love it.
Yeah.
Guys, question is for you. How do you feel about Conan O'Brien being the host for the 97th annual Oscars? Are you into this choice or do you think they should have gone a different route? Let us know your thoughts. Alrighty, y'all. Moving right along, we have yet another Lara Croft entering the chat.
Ooh.
What?
Ooh, we got a new one. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at Variety. Sophie Turner is set to play Lara Croft in this latest Tomb Raider installation from Amazon. So Sophie Turner is nearly set for the lead role in Amazon's upcoming Tomb Raider TV series. Sources say that the deal is not fully closed yet, but is expected to close soon. Turner will play the lead role of Lara Croft, the titular Tomb Raider. The show was greenlit at Amazon earlier this year, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, of course, of Fleabag fame, set to write and executive produce under her Amazon overall deal. It was first reported as being in development at the streamer in January of 2023. Yeah. Sophie Turner, who of course most of us know from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
A few of us try to forget her from X-Men. No shade, Sophie. That movie just wasn't a great vehicle for any of you. But had a really cool train scene.
Her and Anne can be friends again because it's Splitsville.
Oh,
so,
yeah. There we go. This can work
Yeah.
out. This
So
can
the
be
Jonas
great.
Brothers are free again. Well, at least that one.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one is. I like this in theory, actually. I will say there is a really great Tomb Raider series on Netflix right now, the animated one with Hallie Atwell voicing Lara Croft, and it is excellent in my opinion. It's super, super fun. It's very, very charming. But I enjoy Sophie Turner, and I do want to see more from her. I don't think a lot of her roles have allowed her to really flex that much, especially because in something like Game of Thrones, you are set to be so team this, team that. You pick a house and then you find these characters very polarizing and they make choices that you maybe have fights with your friends over.
But if you're
sketches
picking
with.
House Lannister, I'm going to be questioning your morals.
That's very
so.
true. That is very, very true. But I think this could be a really interesting thing. And on top of it, having it at Amazon does give me a little bit more hope too. I've really enjoyed the series they've been doing lately. Rings of Power season 2 is really fabulous. Loved Fallout.
Love Fallout.
Love what they've done with that. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a fabulous writer. I was not a fan of her popping up in Indiana Jones, but she did what she needed to with that role. That wasn't her fault. That was some writing there that she wasn't part
Yeah, I
of.
find that interesting how they're like, I cannot stand that actress for the way she treated Indiana Jones.
That's how it was written, guys.
I don't think you understand. That's not
Yeah,
reality.
That was how the show went.
You know, if this series is good, and then the upcoming God of War series is good,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon will make a name for itself
For the
as
video game?
live action video game series house.
And I'd say the savior of video game adaptations, aside from obviously Last of Us was HBO, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how they treated Fallout was a masterclass, I think, in how you respect the IP and then make it your own. When you hear this, though, John, how do you feel about this casting choice?
Okay, so there's always two aspects when stuff like this comes up. The first thing that people are always going to want to talk about is, do they look like the character?
Yeah.
Obviously, she doesn't look like Lara Croft. But to me, that's never an important thing. Quite frankly, unless like you're talking about something about their appearance is absolutely 100% important to who and what the character is. That's just not the case here. So does she look anything like Lara Croft? No, but I don't care about that. I really don't. All that has ever mattered to me was, are you putting in a good performer? Are you putting in a good actor? They're not.
Ooh.
What are we doing here? What are we doing? She's not good. Now look, she was perfectly fine in Game of Thrones, but what we realized after that was that was really more how good the character was. When you hold up her performances against like a Peter Dinklage or something, or other people who are on the show, she's a little bit wooden. And then granted, the X-Men stuff she had to try to work with wasn't a lot of great material, granted, but she was the most wooden out of all people in that. Her best performance is splashing around in a bathtub in a Jonas Brothers video. That's been her best performances, is appearing in her now ex-husband music videos. Now listen, it might be unfair for me to say that, because the reality is we don't have a huge sample size of Sophie Turner's acting to really look on that. But I think that's also a testament that nobody's wanted to work with her. Like she hasn't been offered stuff. She hasn't had offers lining up, as far as we know, to be in anything. And so, listen, I am going to take all of my feelings about this and leave them at the door when it comes time to sit down and watch this new series. And hopefully she'll blow us away, and hopefully she'll totally own the role and she'll be great in it. I love it when that happens. I love going, I had no faith in that and I ended up loving it. I love it when that happens. But if I'm going to be honest right now, this is a massive mistake. I think this is a massive miscast. It honestly takes away a lot of my hope for this. And I think this is going to be a disaster. I really do. I think this is going to be an utter disaster.
Let's be real. It's like the Lara Croft, it's gonna be a physical role. It's on Amazon, who hasn't really. They had Fallout and stuff like that. Well, that reduces your sample size of who you could get, I guess, maybe. I loved the last Tomb Raider movie with Alicia Vikander.
Yes.
I
I
was
like
hoping,
that movie too. I like that movie a lot.
I was
She's
hoping there
great.
was a second one. I'm not sure if a Tomb Raider series is something I'm gonna end up following. But I hope it is good. I mean, Amazon needs to build up their library so they could compete with the rest of the streaming platforms. I wish all of them do well. So I don't know.
I will say, I think the smartest thing about announcing this casting choice right now and saying that, you know, it's not finalized, but this is what we're looking at,
It's to get a
is one, to get your feelers out on it. But she also has a mini series out right now called Joan that I've seen a few advertisements for here or there, she being Sophie Turner. And I've gone, oh, I should maybe check that out. Now I'm definitely going to check that out. She's playing a jewel thief in that, and I want to see her acting chops in it. So I can see her doing a little action, doing a little kind of espionage work, see how that could translate into the Lara Croft role.
What's that on?
I am not sure.
Okay, sorry. Let me
But I saw it came up in my Instagram feed.
But you
What
know,
was the
what?
name of
Ray brought up the Alicia Vikander one.
Mhm.
I look. It didn't. They didn't have to do this. But I mean, I would much rather have heard an announcement that they were just going to bring back Alicia Vikander to
Absolutely.
be in this series.
She was great.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm actually at a loss here. I don't understand this casting at all. And again, I hope I'm proved wrong. I love it when we are, but I just think this is a disastrous mistake. I really do.
Mm.
There you go.
I think throw a tank top on her and get her some brown hair dye and let's see what happens.
By the way, I'm getting a message that Joan is on CW.
CW.
Ah.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it's on
There you
CW.
go.
that doesn't give me
That-
a lot of excitement, but hey,
That tracks.
I'll still check it out so I can
Do they-
see her do that.
Do they even update the CW app anymore?
I don't even know.
Do they even update CW?
No, I think
don't know what they're
Arrow
doing
is still
anymore.
on the banner. So
Oh man.
Yeah.
Woof. Well,
been a minute.
guys, let us know how you feel about this. Sophie Turner as Lara Croft. Does that make sense to you? Or are you like John going, nope, stick to music videos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, guys, with that all out of the way, we're going to get into the most important part of the show, your questions. But before we do that, we're going to take a minute to hear from some of our sponsors. All right? Thank you.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Jean. So the colder season is here, and guess what? I am living in the perfect jean. These jeans are super stretchy, soft, and totally trick people into thinking I've got my life together. And I'm telling you this because I actually love them. These are absolutely, no questions asked, my favorite jeans that I have ever owned. And yes, the folks over at The Perfect Jean are paying me to say that, but it's still absolutely true. These are my favorite jeans ever. These jeans have enough stretch to accommodate Thanksgiving dinner and are comfy enough to wear all day watching Sunday football. Plus, even though they feel like sweatpants, they look good enough to be your go-to pants for date night. And listen, the Perfect Jean isn't even just pants. They've revolutionized t-shirts as well. The Perfect Tee has just enough stretch to hide that beer belly while accentuating your arms and chest for that flawless look. My guys, it's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectjean.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code Campea. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support the John Campea Show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the Perfect Jean.
And thank you so much to Miracle Made and the Perfect Jean. I actually have the Miracle Made sheets. They're
I do
actually
too.
quite
They're
nice.
great.
Yeah, I really enjoy
They're
them.
great. Ann and I love
Really
them.
good. I like them a bunch. Use those Campea codes, guys, because not only do you get yourself a tasty deal, you help us out here on the show. Win-win. All right? Now let's get to those questions.
All right. First up is Anonymous Superboy says, regarding Superman and the $1 Billion Club, I agree that the first DCU film's success should be measured by its reception, DC brand rehabilitation, not just box office. Hypothetically, I've heard from someone I trust that WB might outspend Barbie on marketing for this film, though it's not yet reported by the trades. Would you be concerned about what WB's success metrics are for Gunn's Superman involve a marketing budget similar to Barbie's at $150 million?
No, I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. Remember, if their main goal here is image rehabilitation, you've got to get behind it, right? Again, my whole position on this is they're not going to, this Superman movie isn't going to make a lot of money. So it's okay if they don't. It's okay if it's okay if Superman loses money. And I don't think it's going to lose money, but it's okay if it does, because again, they're not thinking short term, they're thinking long term. And if you want to rehabilitate image, you also got to really get behind it. And so I think even if they're not expecting a huge box office for Superman, you showcase it huge. You put it in front of people. You go all out with it. So I think it would honestly be the right move because it's an investment in the future of the DCU movies. It's an investment of the upcoming movies by promoting Superman as much as you can. Again, you just better hope that Superman movie's good.
All right. Forbidden says, oopsie.
Was there one below Anonymous that we skipped?
No, it was a two-part.
Wasn't there a Baldur's something?
Oh yeah, Baldur's Grape.
Right.
We got Baldur's Grape. So Denzel says that he shot a scene kissing a man for Gladiator that ended up getting cut. He followed it up saying he thinks it's because they got chicken and weren't ready for that yet. The scene was representing a kiss of death. Thoughts? Yeah, I don't think so.
Especially I think it's just Denzel playing with it. I mean, listen, lots and lots of footage from every movie gets cut. I mean, it just happens. So I don't think there's anything to it. I think that just sounded like a tasty soundbite, and a lot of trades ran with it, but I really don't think it means anything.
Nah. Forbidden says, oopsie, I done goofed. I got What If mixed up with Marvel Zombies, but are very similar to each other. Either way, we're getting Blade as Moon Knight before Ali gets his own Blade movie. Seinfeld transitions sound effect.
Oh, we need to add that one. That'd be a good one.
I feel like we should have that music play every time we try to talk about Blade at all now.
That's true. And then just a forlorn shot of Ray. I'm sorry, buddy.
I want everybody to remember this. We got a live action Howard the Duck on screen before we got Blade. In the MCU. Just want to make sure everybody remembers that.
Oof.
Okay.
All right. Jake G says, hey, John, been a viewer of yours since your Saw 3 review in 2006.
Wow.
Just want to show support. Thanks for being awesome.
Aw.
You know, honestly, one of the craziest things about this job is like how often we get contacted by people relaying just how long they've been watching our stuff, whether it was my solo stuff on Movie Blog, whether it was stuff at AMC or Collider and Complex, or now here. It's always wild to hear about people who've been following us for so long. Thank you so much for coming along on the journey with us. It's really appreciated.
We got Anonymous who says, your thoughts on having Avatar re-released again on cinema or in cinemas leading up to Avatar 3 and then it can hit the $3 billion mark, said like Dr. Evil. $3 billion. Does it cost the studios a lot of money to re-release movies? And would you like to see it more often with franchises?
I like the idea of it. The thing is, it does take an investment to get that out there, and you got to broker deals with the theaters, and you got to get some marketing money behind it to make sure people know it's coming and all that kind of stuff. But I personally kind of like the experience of like when a new chapter of a franchise is coming out. Like I know Marvel's done it several times, Harry Potter's done it several times, to head back out to the theater and watch the previous ones again there. And you don't have to make a lot of money for it to make up for the marketing push. Like you make $3, $4, $5 million and you're fine. So I don't think it's necessary, but I'd be down for it.
They did it before Way of Water, but that's because there was such a huge time gap between the two. And I feel like they were really trying to remind people. As a matter of fact, I was one of those who went and saw it a second time. And I remember thinking, am I going to enjoy this? And then I realized like, wow, I really do like the first Avatar. There is this like weird disconnect with people that are like, I don't know if it's that good. And then every time anyone sees it, they're like, oh, that was really engaging.
Yeah.
And then they showed, it made $76 million on its 22 re-release.
Jeez.
And 57 million on its 21 re-release. Wow. They were showing additional footage of Way of Water, which was cool too.
Oh, that's very cool.
If they do something like that, I could see that, but I think it was more necessary between the first two because of a huge time gap.
Yeah.
Also, I think like less people get tempted to say, wow, it made that much money. Why don't all movies do re-releases? Avatar is the biggest film of all time.
Right.
So like you're not going to get those kind of results for most movies if you try to just do a re-release. Ask Sony about Morbius.
They'd rather you not.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Bananarama says, hey gang, any theories for why good actors such as Chris Evans and Tom Holland struggled to land successful projects outside of the MCU? Is it just poor choices, or is there a lack of appetite from a wider audience to see them as non-MCU characters?
I mean, there's a little bit of it that, of course, is like we like seeing this. We only see now this person as this. I think it's one of the reasons Mark Hamill. I mean, he got really lucky with the Joker, but I mean, Mark Hamill didn't have like an amazing career outside of Luke Skywalker. The fact that Harrison Ford was able to do that is kind of crazy. But I don't think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing is simply this: is that everybody thinks the project they're getting involved with is going to be great.
Yep.
I mean, Chris says that with some experience. Because you read a script. We've been talking about this a lot lately. You read a script and so many great scripts have turned into bad movies or TV shows because it's not the story itself. That's a part of it. It's the telling of the story. And I think just a lot of times that like guys, like a lot of actors get involved in films that they think look good. I mean, even Tom Holland, he got involved with the Russo brothers a couple of times and just those turned out to be not very good. And they just don't hit the way they would. And quite frankly, the ones that Chris Evans and Tom Holland have been in that not worked, it's not like if you just put another actor in there, they suddenly would have worked better. So it's just sometimes you're rolling the dice a bit when you take on a project.
And I will say Chris Evans has had slightly more success than Tom Holland. He had Defending
Yes,
Jacob,
he
which
has.
was a great show. He was in Knives Out as well. Despite how people in this room or
Snowpiercer.
other people liked Gray Man. They're making more of them. So.
Oh God, that movie's so bad.
Other people liked it. I'm just saying. There's no accounting for taste, but you know.
All right. We got Amin who says, can't take full credit for this idea as I saw someone mention it online. But what would you think of a Zorro reboot starring Pedro Pascal? I personally would love that. Feels like a good time to try a fresh new take on the character.
Ooh.
I don't ever like the idea of do this with this actor. What do I feel about a Zorro reboot? Yeah, Zorro's a classic story, and there's different ways to tell it. So I'd be all for another Zorro film. I really would. But it doesn't have to be with Pedro Pascal. It can be, I mean, if they announced Pedro Pascal, great. But I mean, it's really more the project. What do I think about the project? Not about just looking for a vehicle for a particular actor. But I'd totally be down for another Zorro.
There you go. Matan says, considering that The Brave and the Bold is going to be inspired by the Grant Morrison run, and so is the DCU in general, and the drawing used in the reveal, what are the chances DCU Batman is big booty Dick Grayson?
Here's the thing, though. We always talk about
Dick Grayson's
when
booty.
a new comic book movie is coming out. We always talk about which things is it based on? Which thing is it inspired by? And the reality is that most of the time it still is very, very unique unto itself. Like, yes, you catch flavors and hints of those other things, but it still ends up being its own. Like, we always go back to this Civil War. Civil War is one of the most important and famous comic book story runs ever, but the movie had very little to do with the comic. Yes, it was based on, it was inspired by, is what all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't expect a lot. And I don't take it too seriously when they say this particular movie is going to be more inspired by this, because I don't know, Chris, if you feel the same way, but I don't honestly ever feel like it really turns out that way. I don't know. How do you see it?
No, it's usually kind of cafeteria style, right? I'm going to take a little of this, I'm going to take a little of that, and then we're going to make it into this thing. Because if it is going to be a page-for-page adaptation, then, we're getting Bruce Wayne and Damian Wayne and all of these things. And I don't need just that story. I would like some pieces of that, and I'd like some Grant Morrison flavor in there. But we also are setting up a very different world that hasn't even seen this Batman yet, let alone him having an estranged son. So there's a lot of other things that need to fall into place here. And it's so fun when you get surprised as a comic book reader, too, where it's just, oh, I thought this was going to happen with the Skrulls, and a totally different thing happened. For Captain Marvel, not for Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion, purge it from my mind.
All right. Anonymous says, anyone else find the marketing for Thunderbolts a little weird? The teaser just came out a month ago and was 3 minutes and 25 seconds long. Now we just got another trailer, which is 3 minutes and 41 seconds. Not only do I think these trailers are too long, but I would space them out more. Well, that one that came from Brazil, so that was like a con release.
Yeah, that was a Comic-Con presentation. Brazil. What's it called in Brazil? XX. What is it?
CCX. No.
Yeah, something. Someone in the chat might.
Yeah, you're right.
CCXP.
CCXP.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, these are online things. Like, they're not putting a 4-minute trailer in the theaters. And I don't think they have to space them out. I think they're trying. Listen, they know Thunderbolts is a questionable project, right? Because when they first announced Thunderbolts, people like me are like, why are you doing this? Like, what's happening with it? This is a lesser known to unknown property, much like Guardians of the Galaxy was. So you could ask the question, wait a minute, why are they dropping a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy at Comic-Con in San Diego when they've only been shooting for 5 days? Well, the answer to that is because they know they need to get that in front of the audience as much as they can, because most people have never heard of the Thunderbolts. So this is a new thing, and they're going to promote it, I think, a little bit more differently and a little bit more than they would another traditional Marvel project.
Mm-hmm. Joey says, game day.
Game day.
New Linkin Park album and Transformers 1 dropping on the same day. Are we back in 2007? If you play the new album, from the moment the Paramount Pictures logo comes up, it pairs perfectly with Transformers 1. Maybe. Give it a shot.
Probably.
Side note, I know there's a lot of differing opinions. I don't give a shit. I watched that full live concert of the, Linkin Park 2.0. They're fucking awesome.
Yep.
They're so good.
Coming in with the heat.
I don't care what anybody else says. Do we wish the lead singer was still alive? And of course we do, obviously. But that's not reality. That's not the world we live in. This girl, I cannot remember her name. I probably never will. She fucking smokes.
They're
so good. The new Linkin Park is so good.
I mean, full disclosure, it's never I've never been a big Linkin Park fan. I just was never into that scene.
Yeah.
But whatever, it's cool. But fun fact, John, they're playing Dodger Stadium. If you guys are interested in seeing them there.
Emily Armstrong.
I'd be completely
Emily
down
Armstrong. Emily Armstrong is her name.
Emily Armstrong, that's her. Yeah,
I think
she is. You know what's great about her is that if you've listened to any of her stuff with Linkin Park, she's got that raspy power voice scream.
Right.
So it's not trying to do the original singer, but it reminds us of that identity of Linkin Park while being her own unique voice at the same time. It was a brilliant move. I thought it was really weird when I first heard about it. Then I
Sure.
saw the concert. I'm like, holy shit, they're good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them live.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to go to Dodger Stadium, tickets are on sale. Joey is back and says, am I wrong for thinking that the decrease in quality for the Sony Spider-Verse films brings down the value for Spider-Man? Maybe the price for the rights drop enough for Disney to acquire. I just want to see these characters done right. There's some problems there though. No Way Home was massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is right now, there is no evidence. Not to say that there couldn't be sometime later, but as of right now, there is no evidence that the value of the Spider-Man character has decreased, like at all. Like Jonathan just pointed out, the last one was one of the highest grossing films in history.
Almost $2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spider-Verse movies also being done by Sony. The second one came out and was a massive growth from the previous one. And the very fact that I'm not, but that people are excited about this, what is it called? Spider-Man Prom Queen King?
Yeah,
What's the
Prom
animated
Queen
thing called?
Spider-Man.
Prom Queen. I can't remember the name of it.
Ricky Ticky Spidey.
What, yeah, Ricky Ticky Spider-Man. What was it called?
Oh my gosh. Isn't it Your Friendly Neighborhood?
Yeah,
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
It was Spider-Man. The fact that so many people, I'm not one of them, but so many people are excited about that. They haven't decreased at all. If you're Sony, you never lower the price tag on that.
Yeah.
It like Sony is basically on the phone with Disney and saying, listen, to quote Ted DiBiase, everybody's got a price for the $1 million man, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a price. And I'm sure Sony has a price that they would give back the rights to Spider-Man. The problem is the price is fuck you dollars. It's so astronomically high that it's simply not worth it for Disney to buy them back. And if you're Sony, you never let those go.
Yeah.
You never let those go. All right.
Joey, so we have a couple more from Joey, and he says, has anyone heard of the show Ruby? Maybe Chris?
Yeah.
It was a little show from Rooster Teeth, but recently got picked up after the company shut down.
Right.
Haven't heard much, but I hope it continues. The show was really quite good.
I never got super into it. I'm not very keen on the animation style on it, but I do know it's, at a training to be huntresses in this world where you fight kind of monstrous creatures and things like that. It looks interesting, but I just never super got into it. But good for them for getting picked up after that cancellation. That's great.
There you go. And then one last one from Joey. Last piece. Would you like to play a game? I'm going to watch a movie this weekend. I will not tell you what it is. You must guess. You have one clue. Here it is. Do you hear the people sing? I think we already know immediately what that is. Have a great weekend. I mean,
Les Mis isn't in theaters.
I know, but it must be like some kind of
Special
re-release.
So who was in Les Mis that's in a movie coming out? So Hugh Jackman. Liam Neeson.
He has a
version of
yeah.
Les Mis.
Liam has a film out right now. Liam, I can't.
Oh
remember.
yeah, that's right. So yes, that's right. It's where he's like the guy trying to get out of the crime life.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it, but yeah. So I'm gonna guess that's the one because he was in a Les Mis movie.
Absolution.
Absolution. Yeah. So that would be my guess.
There we go.
Because he played Jean Valjean once, I believe.
The brother of Abomination.
Yeah.
The brother of Abomination.
Raymond Verada says, "Hi, Batman Beyond crew." Well, actually, John's here.
Yeah.
I know John would prefer an actor for a host for the Oscars, but congrats to Conan O'Brien being named host for next year's show. Too bad Ryan and Hugh aren't hosting after a successful Deadpool and Wolverine movie. That would have been the go-to.
It would have been perfect. I mean, it literally would have been because it's the biggest live action movie of the year. Everybody loves Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. They both can sing. They both have incredible wit and personality. It would have been perfect. And I think they should have moved heaven and earth to make it happen. That being said, I do love the pick of Conan O'Brien. I think he's going to do a great job, and it's going to be really cool to see what he does.
Andrew says, "Hey, John watched Red One last night and absolutely loved it. I
Wow.
went in not thinking it would be very good. I didn't care for the trailers, but I think it's now my favorite Christmas movie. Have you seen it yet? What is your favorite Christmas movie?
I was considering going to see it last night. Like I pulled into Vegas last night and I had some time and I thought about running. There's an AMC not far from here. And I thought about running out to go watch it. And then I remembered I don't hate myself.
Wow.
Whoa.
So
A level
now look, I
4
love Dwayne. I
naughty
love
lister?
Chris Evans. I will probably watch it at some point, but I mean, woof. I've been talking to some, like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. And maybe I will too. But like, I've just talked to so many people who've seen it that really didn't like it at all. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine just texted me that they're saying it's going to ultimately lose about $250 million, which is going to be one of the biggest
Whoa.
flops in history.
Wow.
But,
Yeah,
but listen, that's the great thing about movies. It's
Hey.
subjective. If you liked it, you liked it. That's great.
And the great thing about movies is Dwayne still gets to keep that 50 mil.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dwayne doesn't have to give it back. You know what?
Listen.
And this, everybody
He's like-
gets mad at me. Everybody gets mad at me when the topic of actor salaries come up and it's like, well, if the movie's really successful, the actor should get more money. And I'm like, do the actors give back any money if the movie flops? No. Dwayne ain't giving $1 of that $50 million back.
That movie was a
He's
box
not
office hit
giving
for
back
him.
1 cent. So yeah, he's keeping all that money. Him and Chris will be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a box office hit for them. Send Me Your Blade script says first look images of the live action How to Train Your Dragon leaked today, and they look incredible. Dean DeBlois, director of the animated trilogy, is also directing live action.
Yes.
Curious to see in which ways he'll change and adapt the live action.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting to see, especially from the same director. Like, how is he going to change his approach in the mediums, like going from the animated medium into the live action medium? Because obviously you're going to have to do some things differently. And I'm sure there's probably, like, as a storyteller, I was talking to one director once who says, when you do get a chance to go back, you always have ideas of things you wish you could have done differently, or you come up with other ideas long after the movie is out. So it's going to be interesting to see what changes he brings to the story.
Mhm.
All right, we got Cherry Garcia, with a two-parter. Hey crew, don't waste your time seeing Red One.
What?
What?
As someone who loves Christmas movies and liked the trailer footage, this movie straight up sucked. It got to a point maybe 45 minutes in where I tapped out and was just hate watching. It skips up here. The scenes that were meant to be funny, the audience was silent, and the ones that tried to have a more serious tone were so bad I couldn't help but laugh. No spoiler, but the Nick Kroll scene made me tap out, and I left the movie early. 30 minutes. You
A
are.
level 4 naughty lister?
30 minutes later, I mean, again, that's the beautiful thing about movies. We just had somebody write in and say it's now their favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Somebody who had to want to walk out.
I'll make
But
it
that's
for
the
45
beauty.
minutes.
Yeah.
I think,
Bring
well,
on
Ray,
the trash.
you barely make 20
No,
minutes.
no,
before
that's
you're
usually,
bored.
and then I'll fall. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm
It could go-
excited.
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
Yeah,
Ray was like,
you still being in the theater, but asleep in your chair doesn't count.
no. And what's funny, it's ironic, is he's like, what? I didn't want to see this in theaters. I want to see it at home with the family. Ray, I've watched movies at home with you. You're out like within 12 minutes of the
Well,
movie
you know
starting.
what?
That's
It's
amazing.
I blame it on the boring company that I'm watching.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
it.
To Jonathan's point, true story. Jonathan, Ray, and I are at my place, and we're like, hey, let's watch Abigail.
Yeah, which I
And-
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too
it
bad
was
it wasn't
great.
scary enough.
Abigail's great. And Ray's like, yeah, we got to watch that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you need to know about Ray is, for whatever reason, Ray likes laying on the floor.
Yeah.
And even though
Me
I got
too.
this like
It's colder.
massive
Yeah.
It's nicer.
couch that
Poor
that
girl.
can hold like 20 people, Ray likes laying on the floor. That's cool.
Mhm.
So Jonathan and I are on the couch. Ray's laying on the floor in front of the TV, which is what he always does. That's normal. And we start playing Abigail. And about 15 minutes into Abigail, all you hear is,
Well, that's Abigail's fault for being so boring.
it's just like, and that's the sound I hear almost every time we go to the movies.
It's all the movie's fault. It's never my fault.
That's right. It's the movie's
That
fault.
makes sense.
Yeah. See?
Yeah.
You got to grab me right from the
Good
very
tracks.
beginning.
Yeah, it's always that awkward moment where I'm like saying something to Ray and I'm like, repeat it, and then he starts snoring. I'm like, he's okay.
The 2 times I've been to, I've never fallen asleep at the strip club. So come on.
Ray.
When I was 18 and 20 something.
There you go.
Friend's
Well, you
birthday.
were younger then.
Friends. Oh, John's. Yeah, someone's bachelor.
My bachelor party. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I never fell asleep there. So it has to be the movie.
That would have been amazing if you did, though.
And I was on the floor.
It's the only time I've ever had Ray come up to me and say, "John, I'm out of money." So,
Okay.
anyway.
Come on. Don't tell lies. Don't tell lies. You know, I was shelled up like a little boy. I couldn't talk to anybody.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Aw.
Because, man, it's like there's so much going on. It's like you can't. Okay, let's move on.
Let's go on here. Anonymous says, "Hi, Jonathan. Hello. I was shocked to hear you knew Rick Mayall and the young ones. Yes, man. I love the young ones. He died too young. He still had a lot to offer. He would have enjoyed taking the piss out of Brexit, Boris Johnson, and a lot of other stuff. He was like a great anarchic comedian, man. Who are your favorite comedians now? Oh, I mean, God, I have to think about that one, and we'll move forward, and I'll think about that one. But yeah, so we'll go to Mega Red says, "Happy Friday, crew. I'm starting the weekend with a J, and it got me speculating.
Oh,
the
no.
J. Remember earlier in the year when the Hollywood Reporter Marvel offered Avengers 5 to Sean Levy? Do you think this version of Avengers 5 featured Doom and RDJ? Part 2 says, want to make sure that's part 2. Yeah. What I find most peculiar is how Levy was offered 5, but the Russos signed on for 5 and 6. How much do you think of the proposed Levy version is being retooled into the Russos version? Again, all speculation. Thanks for all you do and enjoy the weekend."
Yeah, we talked about this before, and I mean, it's a good question. Look, Disney loves working with Sean Levy, and they obviously had a great experience working with him with what he did with Deadpool and whatnot. I have a feeling it was a total retool. My guess, and it's just a guess, is that the movie Sean Levy would have made would have been a very, very, very different movie. Like completely different movie, probably completely different concept. I doubt any of the concepts got brought over. I think the Russos had an idea of what they would do if they had the chance to do it, which obviously includes Robert Downey Jr. So my guess is, and again, it's just a guess, is that it would have been a completely different project.
All right. We got, let's see. So we did Mega Red. So Rushmore, dear John, one of my my childhood favorites was 1979's The Warriors. I always felt like it's missed opportunity for Paramount to do more with the property. I think they are doing something with the property.
They might be. I don't think this is super top secret, so I think I can say this because it's so long ago. A couple of buddies of mine, you've often heard me talk about Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. They directed the Jason Statham Crank movies, and they're the guys responsible for me meeting Anne. But they were over at my place one time. We were having a barbecue at my place, and they were telling me the studio was talking to them about doing a Warriors remake. And so I know, so at least in the last 10 years, 12 years or so, the studio has at least looked at it, and they were even talking to some directors like those buddies of mine. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it gets redone at some point. I think it's probably still on the burner for them.
There we go. John M says, "How to train." Okay, I thought I was reading that wrong. How to Drain Your Dragon live action. The one big complaint: the colors look too muted. This is children's fantasy. Have some fun and don't try to make it look like Game of Thrones or washed out and realistic. But hopefully it'll be good. That's one shot we saw.
Yeah.
You know what? Go ahead, John.
I didn't see. I don't get that at all. I thought they were. I mean, it was a stone wall.
Yeah.
It was I didn't find it to be desaturated or anything like that. Like that's just one shot of a stone wall in an auditorium that's been burned a lot by fire.
But
so I wouldn't read too much into that.
I think if these were hyper saturated, like it would feel like what's happening here, you know?
But imagine the whole movie is this color, right? And then you bring in Toothless. One of the things about his characteristics are his green eyes. Imagine his green eyes light up right there. Like if he's in one of those little little caves or whatever, like dark
yeah.
areas, those green eyes would shine like spectacularly, I think. Yeah. So I mean, the dragons. I can't wait to see these dragons, and then we could get a better picture of how this movie's gonna at least look aesthetically.
All right. Willoughby Sting says, our Friday movie night, after I'm done with the John Campea Show, obviously, will be a double feature of The Princess Bride. Oh, and Stardust. Wow. I mean, they pair perfectly. Can anyone else top that? I don't think you can.
Oh yeah, you can't.
Again, to me, like I often talk about how Henry Cavill's Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book film of all time. Stardust, to me, is the most underrated not comic book movie. Sorry, I think Stardust is the most underrated movie of all time. I really do. I think it is such a spiritual successor to Princess Bride. I just adore it. I love it. And it was a bunch of people other than Claire Danes. The leads in it, there was like Charlie Cox. Nobody knew Charlie Cox at the time. Well, now you go back and watch it now, it's like, oh my God, there's Daredevil. Oh my God, there's Superman. Because Henry Cavill's in it too. Claire
There's
Danes
little known actress named Michelle Pfeiffer pops up.
Who's that?
Yeah,
Bobby De Niro.
Robert De Niro, Ricky Gervais. I mean, it's such a wonderful movie. If you guys still haven't seen Stardust, go watch Stardust. It's just, it makes my heart smile.
My double feature tonight could probably compare to it. I got a screening of Jack in the Box, and then the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Logan's really excited about that.
I just want to see what kind of clown show it ends up being.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's
So an unranked boxer fighting a 60-year-old man.
Yeah,
I do not understand why anybody's excited. I honestly have no idea why anybody's excited for this.
because I think my husband just wants to see a murder.
Yeah.
It's his first.
He's just like, oh, I'll witness a murder.
Yeah. All right. We got Golden God Conan says, with Conan hosting the Oscars, they better have Paul Rudd introduce nominees at the Oscars, but instead of a clip from the movie, he shows a clip from Mac and Me over and over. Not over and over, but I honestly, and don't tell Conan. And run a thing of Mac and Me on the Academy Awards, I would love it.
I don't get the joke of Mac.
Because every time
go on YouTube and look
Yeah.
up Conan, Paul Rudd, Mac. It was an ongoing
I'll look it up.
running joke. But
It's
listen,
real
I was kidding a bit earlier, but I'm dead serious. If they can, I don't honestly know what the status of the relationship is, but if they could do a gag where Conan gets yanked off stage and midway and Jay Leno comes out to replace him.
Well, or opposite.
That'd be one of the great Oscar moments ever.
Opposite, he comes out and then Conan corrects them and he pulls them as like some weird,
that would be actually better.
Even if it's just a little, you can't take this job from me.
Yeah. Something like
would be
that.
better.
Alejandro says, I've been going to AMC for years, and every now and again I get some jalapenos and put it in my popcorn. My friend turned
love
me
doing
onto that years
I
ago.
know
I
other
don't-
people who do that.
Yeah, I don't do
love
it much anymore. But yeah, okay. A while back, the wife and I saw they were charging 50 cents for a little 2-ounce cup of jalapenos. They took the salsa from the nachos. Now this, what's next?
It's highway robbery, Alejandro.
I'll tell you what, I was Clark Gregg, the guy who plays Agent Coulson in the MCU. He spent the day with me at AMC once. We were doing this stuff to help promote Avengers and everything. And we went into the theater to grab some popcorn. And it was the first time ever in my life I had seen somebody take popcorn. And then Clark's like, oh, can I get some Raisinets? I'm like, oh, yeah, we've got some Raisinets. And he poured raisins into his popcorn. And I was, to quote Les Mis, agog and aghast. To me, that was sacrilege.
But
But
it's kind of a trail
apparently,
mix, though.
Yeah.
He's trail mixing his
well, yeah,
thing.
this thing. Apparently, there's a lot of people who do stuff
They
like
do
that.
it-
Like I've seen people that put M&Ms in their
M&Ms,
popcorn.
A lot of people
Junior
do it-
mints.
Milk duds too. But yeah.
I'll tell you the weirdest thing I saw. Some guy had a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola. He opened up some peanuts, a pack of like those, and he put it in. And then I tried it, and I was like, hey.
It's good. That's some Southern shit, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's some
What does
Southern
that
stuff.
do to the drink? Does it, which is
It
make it
makes
salty?
your
or-
drink saltier, and then the peanuts
The
taste
peanuts
like
taste
Coca-Cola.
good, actually.
Yeah.
Moist,
All right,
good.
I might be down for that.
moist peanuts.
I might be down to try that.
It's real good.
Moist peanuts. Bry Guy says, my top choice for a live action
That's my MC name.
Calvin and Hobbes movie is Andrew Stanton, but my main influences are Paddington 1 and 2, 60s Disney films, 09's Where the Wild Things Are, Pixar films by Pete Docter, Charlie Kaufman, Ron Howard, and Steven Spielberg. You just got all kinds of inspirations everywhere.
Yeah.
Where are the wild
Listen,
things
Andrew
are?
Stanton directing a live action Calvin and Hobbes, that's inspired. But mentioning Paddington, I mean, can you imagine Paul King directing
Oh,
a live action?
dang.
First of all, I don't know that you really could do a live action Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know that you can really bring that to life.
Right.
It's the greatest comic strip of all time. I love Calvin and Hobbes so much. But man, if they announced tomorrow either Andrew Stanton or a Paul King directing a Calvin and Hobbes movie, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I was be excited about it.
How would that play out, John, in your head? Would it just be a bunch of gags in a row, or like because
But see, that's part of the challenge, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because Calvin and Hobbes is all 3-panel gags.
But it's also about
So how
friendship.
do you-
It's also
Yeah.
about their friendship. It's really sweet.
Well, it's also about life. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? It's so deep, and it's about life and all that kind of stuff. And there's still a lot of people don't know that, like, the characters themselves were named after theologians. Calvin and Hobbes were both named after theologians, and it's just so deep and warm and wonderful. It makes observations about life, and it would be so good. But you're right, Ray. It would be a real challenge because, I mean, what was his Spaceman Spiff? I mean, you could do a Spaceman Spiff. You could do like something like that, but whatever. It'd have to probably be a bunch of individual stories, maybe 4 stories, kind of like the way they did Sin City, in a way that's like multiple different stories that are all
Right,
kind of told
okay.
in one.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's a tough task.
Logan Vaughn says, in honor of Leo DiCaprio's birthday this week, I have a question. How do we feel about The Man in the Iron Mask?
I love it.
When I saw it as a kid, I thought it was awesome. I still think it holds up, but I don't really hear people talk about it much.
It's delightful. It's so good.
Chris likes it.
You
I
know
love it.
what the best way to watch Man in the Iron Mask is?
Hi.
What?
I think it was the 90s. I think it was the 1990s. Ray, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
But there was a Three Musketeers movie with Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, Chris O'Donnell,
Mm-hmm.
and Oliver Platt.
Hmm.
I loved Rebecca De Mornay was in that as well. And I love that Three Musketeers movie. Love it. Now, if you watch that Three Musketeers movie and then watch Man in the Iron Mask,
Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
it plays exactly like a sequel. It
Yep.
wasn't meant as a sequel, but it plays like a sequel 25 years later. And now all these characters are much older, and you got John Malkovich, and you got, was Jeremy Irons in Man in the Iron Mask?
I believe so.
I think he was, right? And
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio and
Yeah, he
Gerard
is. Yeah, it's
Depardieu. Yeah, Gerard Depardieu was in that, which is a little touchy right now. But anyway, so I mean, if you watch those two back to back, it's
Yeah.
I've done it a couple of times. It's a wonderful viewing experience.
You're talking about the 93 Three Musketeers that came out in
yeah, with
93.
Kiefer Sutherland, Charlie Sheen, Oliver Platt. Yeah,
Right.
You know, real quick, speaking of DiCaprio, someone said which day I think you weren't in, John, but DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese are apparently, because I was talking about H.H. Holmes, that serial killer who
Yeah.
had, and I said, oh, it's sort of like that movie that's out with Hugh Grant. Apparently, DiCaprio and Scorsese are adapting a story on H.H. Holmes and that murder castle. I have to look into that some more, but I thought that was
we
really
reported
interesting.
it when the guy said the title of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally remember us reporting it. But Chris O'Donnell was in Three Musketeers as well.
Oh yeah.
yeah. He
All
was
right.
D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan.
Come, D'Artagnan, we're going to save the king.
Athos.
It's-
Aramis.
yeah.
2 more here from our tips. The Tick, over under 99%. Paul Rudd pulls his alien movie Mac and Me prank on Conan O'Brien at the Oscars. I hope so, because that movie was never going to get near the Oscars, and this might be its only shot. I mean, I think it would be perfect, but
Yeah.
Conan has to actually not be in on it.
Yeah.
Whether he suspects it or not, he'd probably be like, "There's no way," and then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I I don't actually think they'll do it. So I'll go 30%, but it's possible. It's a shame because Ray's reaction is a great example of this. Not a lot of people know the gag.
Right.
So it made, like, for instance, Jimmy Kimmel with his Matt Damon thing, that's more of a well-known thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they could do it, but I don't think they'll do it.
But they should.
But they should.
We got Gubblebum here. Hey, Jonathan, Chris, and Ray. What are your favorite episodes of Bob's Burgers and also Spider-Verse is the arcane of Spider-Man movies?
Ooh.
Oh, well, I watch.
I don't follow it that well, so I don't.
The one I like, it's just a small part of the Bob's Burger episode, but when Gene is imitating Bob, I just thought it was so cute how he did imitate. As of recently, I haven't kept up with the latest season. I have them all on DVR. It's just because I haven't had time. I don't know. Do you have one that stands out?
I love rewatching all the Thanksgiving ones. We talked about this last week. I love watching all the Thanksgiving ones during Thanksgiving. But the last gingerbread house on the left, I think is what it's called, where they have the gingerbread competition.
Oh,
and it ends in a shootout to the kids caroling. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so magical.
There's such great episodes. All the titles are like themed with like some sort of movie or some pun, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend
The
it.
movie's so charming.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
That was it for tips. So we move on to our members here. Once I refresh the feed, a lot going on this morning. All right. So Wesley says, got a murderer's row of stuff to catch up on, but I'm between two shows next. What to watch first, Shogun or Penguin?
Ooh.
Man, I'd almost say Shogun.
Shogun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shogun.
Yeah,
Make
I mean,
sure
they're
you
very
are fully
different
paying
shows.
attention.
Yeah, they're very different shows. I still think Shogun's the better show, but I mean, you can't go wrong. Penguin is so incredible and so great. I think Shogun's a little bit better, but I mean, you can't go wrong. Just make sure you watch them both because they're both incredible.
Yeah. If one was happier than the other, then finish with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say either one's happy.
Yeah,
so.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The lesser of two evils.
Espinoza says Conan hosting the Oscars. Let's effing go.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does a better job hosting the Oscars than he did the MTV Movie Awards back in 2014. My favorite Conan moment was his feud with Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart during this 07-08 writer's strike. Do you guys have a favorite Conan moment? I don't know if I have a favorite Conan moment.
I just love when he took that dachshund to the pawn shop.
Like, what was it? A bit on the?
He had a real dachshund inside. He took it to a pawn shop. It was like one of his remotes, but the dachshund was on these stilts, so it was like hanging in the air, and he was trying to sell it off, and the dachshund was just like looking around. Like, I just thought it was funny. I'm sorry.
What is that? What's that show where it's not scripted? It's like a crime scene. And
Murderville?
Murderville. I love
he's
Conan
on
on Murderville.
Yeah.
Was he on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
was he? I didn't see the episode with him on it.
Yeah.
That's a great one. What
It's
is
really
the one
good.
with Marshawn Lynch is great.
Mm-hmm.
What is that mess? I'm blanking on the name of the video game. That crazy video game with Norman Reedus and there's babies in tubes.
Oh,
Death
Stranding.
Stranding.
Death Stranding. Thank you. His cameo in Death Stranding.
He has a
it's-
cameo in
Yes, he does, and it's so weird. It's so
Oh,
fun.
wow. See, Conan is everywhere. You guys just don't know it.
Yeah.
All right, we got
It's
Terry
good.
Terry Brown who says, "Hey John and crew, my concerns about the new Fantastic Four movie is that the previous movies they never seem to get Reed Richards right. They never show him as the most intelligent person on Earth, and his stretching ability always looks comical instead of powerful or dynamic."
Well, look, the reality is, even in the comic book, his stretching power often looks silly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, let's just be honest. It does quite often. It's a silly looking power. Nailing that aspect though of you have to get the instant impression that this is the smartest guy in the room, right? That doesn't mean his personality has to be stoic, but I mean, you somehow, some way, you got to do that. Now, of course, the problems with the other Fantastic Four movies isn't that he didn't seem like the smartest guy in the world. They were shitty scripts, and they just turned out to be bad. But they do need to, and that's one of the reasons, guys, why when some people were like, "Why Pedro Pascal?" Because I really believed this guy will be able to pull off smartest guy in the room vibes. Like, I really believe that, and that's why I'm really excited for him playing the role.
Okay, we got KM King, who says, hey, John and crew, love your show. Do you think Denzel Washington can be the Blue Marvel in the MCU? Can Kevin Feige talk him into being the old hero for a few films?
No, he's I 100%. I think he's going to be a Wakandan
Yeah, I do too.
character. There are several characters that come to mind. I'm freezing on the name of some of them. Like one of them was the guy who was like the royal family tutor, but then he didn't believe in the monarchy, and then he kind of accidentally started an uprising in Wakanda. There was that guy. There's a lot of characters. I definitely think. Look, if they just said Denzel was going to pop up in, I don't know, Thunderbolts, or if they said Denzel was going to pop up in Captain America 4, if they said Denzel was going to pop up in an Avengers movie, even that Blue Marvel, I don't think we want a 70-year-old Blue Marvel, but it would leave the possibility open. The very fact that it's in a Wakanda project, probably like a Black Panther 3 or something, I think it'll definitely be a Wakandan character. So probably no, not Blue Marvel.
All right. Got King Daddy Goat. He says, hey, crew, I checked out the assembled behind-the-scenes making of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Ooh.
It's amazing how much went into this whole project. I'm so thankful it turned out so good. Have you guys seen it? I highly recommend it. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
No, I didn't know it came out until after Anne already left for San Francisco. Like while I'm in Vegas, my wife Anne is off at a conference in San Francisco right now. So we were both like, okay, we're going to save this till we're both back, right? Yes. So I'm dying to watch it. I have not seen it yet, but I cannot wait to see so many of those stories of behind the scenes from it. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
We got Maverick, who says, who's in charge of Lionsgate? I received emails from Lionsgate Inside of upcoming movies. F, Marry, Kill, and Dirty Angels will be released in theaters and digital at the same time. It's like they're burning money. Day and date.
Lionsgate, look, there's no way to show. I'm a fan of Lionsgate. I like Lionsgate very much. There's no sugarcoating it. They've had a rough year. I mean, they've had a really rough year. Now they got some projects coming up that could be pretty good, but I haven't seen the email you're talking about. But I honestly, out of all the studios, more than Paramount, more than any of the others, if I had to guess and I could peer into a crystal ball 5 years from now, I think Lionsgate either doesn't exist or it's been acquired by somebody else. So hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll see, because I really do like that studio.
Okay, we got just a couple more here. The Blind Jedi says, hey, John and crew, hope you guys have a great day and weekend. Was just curious, do you think they should reuse the Netflix Daredevil theme or a new one? I think the Netflix theme is iconic and they should keep it.
It's not iconic. I can't even remember it.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, it was a nice little theme, but it's not iconic. It's not like bum, 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 bum. It's not like a Superman theme or a thing like that. So look, they could totally reuse it if they want to be lazy, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. The opening music is not going to make the show better or worse. So they can do that, but I think they just get a new theme. That would be I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think they should stick with the music they got?
I think they could just do a new theme, honestly. Because that music went along with the visuals of like it forming the Justice and him and everything. And I think they're going to have different visuals, so I think a different theme is going to fit.
They could do a different one. I love that opening. It's probably one of my favorite openers, though, for a show. I love it so much. And then shameless plug, the Marvel Move game that I'm in, when you're doing the Daredevil story, you can also play your own music with it. So I would always play the Daredevil soundtrack.
Oh, nice.
So I'd have that soundtrack with that story happening at the same time. It's choice.
Yeah, I mean,
I would say this for it, though.
Uh-huh.
The one thing I will say for the idea of reusing that music is, if you really want to create that feel that this is truly connected to the Netflix series, then using the same theme would have its advantages. Again, like it's so iconic. I don't even remember. I watched every single episode of Daredevil 5 times. I couldn't even hum a single bar of the music. So I don't care about it, but there could be the advantage of just creating that instant familiarity with the original series. That could be a good reason to do it.
True. All right, here's our last one. Jai CSC says, let me scoot it up a little bit. Since Batman v Superman, I've stopped commenting on casting choices unless I think it's a really great choice, because all my negativity was always proven wrong. That said, I don't think Sophie Turner is a good fit for any existing take on Lara Croft. So if history repeats itself, she'll probably crush it.
And look, they cast her for a reason, right? Obviously they met with her, they probably screen tested, and they cast her for a reason. And hopefully, when we see the series, we'll get it. We'll go, oh, that's why they picked her, right? Like, hopefully that's the case. All we can do when giving opinions is base our opinions on the information we have available to us. And on the granted limited amount of information about Sophie and her abilities and stuff like that, I just don't know what they're doing. I think this is a terrible casting. But I hope we're proven wrong. I hope we watch it and find out she's great in the role.
All right. Well, that's it.
All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and in Vegas and in our home studio. I've been joining us for our little show today. Listen, big special thank you to all you guys who sent in the questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. So for all the folks back in the home studio, Ray Ora.
Let's go, Tyson.
Jonathan Voico.
Yeah, that thing.
Wonderful Chris Carr.
I've got a new podcast today, Two Filthy Casuals. Go check it out.
My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
Bye.